You did not get a reply to your message, just silence, and even though you know the other person is probably just busy, something inside you starts to spiral. Your chest tightens, your mind runs through every possible reason they might be ignoring you. You check your phone again, nothing, and the feeling grows into something that seems completely out of proportion to what actually happened. That feeling is real, but the real reason you feel it is far stranger than you think. Most people assume that social anxiety, the fear of rejection, and the ache of being left out are modern problems, products of social media, of comparison culture, of a generation raised on likes and followers, but that assumption is wrong, dead wrong. What you feel when someone does not reply, when you are left out of a group, when you sense disapproval in a stranger's expression, that is not weakness. That is ancient machinery, running exactly as it was designed. Your brain was not built for the world you live in. It was built for a world that disappeared roughly 10,000 years ago. A world where being rejected by your group was not just uncomfortable, it was a death sentence. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, whose decades of research on social group dynamics transformed the field, found that early humans lived in tightly bonded groups of roughly 150 individuals. Those groups were everything. They were food, they were protection, they were survival. To be cast out from that group, to be socially rejected meant facing the wilderness alone, and almost no one survived that. So your brain evolved a solution. A deeply sensitive, always-on social monitoring system that scans every interaction for signs of rejection, every facial expression, every tone of voice, every unanswered message, every moment of silence that lasts a second too long. Your brain watches all of it, constantly, because for most of human history, missing a signal of social disapproval could get you killed. The problem is that system never got the update that the world changed. Psychologist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a now-famous experiment called Cyberball. Participants were placed in a brain scanner and told they were playing a simple ball-tossing game with two other players online. Then, without warning, the other players stopped throwing the ball to them. They were excluded. Just from a game. Just from a digital simulation with strangers they had never met. And the brain scans showed something remarkable. The same regions of the brain that process physical pain lit up when participants were socially excluded. The anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain that registers the sensation of being burned or cut, responded to being left out of a game the same way it responds to actual physical injury. Your brain does not distinguish between physical pain and social pain. Not really. Not at the level that matters. When you are rejected, your brain treats it like a wound, because for most of human history it was. Think about what that means. Every time you feel the sting of being left out, your nervous system is responding the way it would if you had just been pushed out of the group campfire circle 100,000 years ago. The stakes your brain is calculating are ancient. The threat it is responding to is prehistoric, but you're sitting in a room alone, staring at a phone screen, heart pounding over a text message that was not returned. That is not irrational. That is evolution running an outdated program on modern hardware. And it goes even deeper than that. Researcher Mark Leary at Duke University spent years studying what he called the sociometer, an internal gauge your brain runs continuously to estimate your social standing within a group. Leary found that self-esteem is not really about how you feel about yourself in isolation. It is your brain's real-time reading of how accepted you are by the people around you. When your social standing feels secure, your self-esteem rises. When you sense rejection or exclusion, your self-esteem drops. Not because you decided to feel bad about yourself, but because your sociometer registered a threat and sent the signal down. You did not choose to feel bad. Your brain chose for you, and it chose based on data it collected from signals that were never meant for the modern world. Here's where it gets even more counterintuitive. Research by psychologist Roy Baumeister found that when people experience social rejection, specific cognitive functions begin to deteriorate almost immediately. Short-term memory weakens. Decision-making becomes erratic. The ability to delay gratification drops sharply. Your brain, in the presence of social threat, essentially shifts into emergency mode. The same mode it would have used 100,000 years ago when exclusion from the group meant you needed to act fast or die. The thinking brain steps back, the survival brain steps forward, and suddenly you are making decisions. Sending that message you should not send, saying that thing you will regret, not because you are impulsive, but because your nervous system genuinely believes it is in danger. This is why breakups feel catastrophic even when you know you will be fine. This is why being left out of a social event can ruin your entire day. This is why a single critical comment can echo in your mind for hours while a dozen kind ones disappear. Your brain is not overreacting. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is protecting you from the most dangerous thing your ancestors could face. The twist is that the danger no longer exists in the same form, but the response is identical. And that gap between the ancient machinery and the modern world is where most of your social suffering lives. So what do you do with that? Understanding the system is not the same as being free of it, but it changes the relationship you have with the feeling. When you feel that spike of anxiety because someone did not respond, you can recognize it for what it is, a prehistoric alarm system firing in response to a signal it was never calibrated to interpret. The alarm is real. The danger it is pointing to is not. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman, whose research at UCLA on the social brain is among the most cited in the field, argues that the human brain is fundamentally a social organ. It was built to connect, it was built to belong. The pain of rejection is not a flaw in the system, it is the system working. It is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, making connection feel so important that losing it feels like losing everything. Because for most of human history, it was. The next time you feel that familiar tightening in your chest, that spiral that starts with one unanswered message, that voice that says you are not enough, not liked, not wanted, remember what it actually is. It is not the truth about you. It is a survival signal from a brain that is still living in a world that no longer exists, a brain that loves you so fiercely it would rather hurt you than let you be alone. You did not get a reply to your message, and your ancient brain treated it like the end of the world. But now you know why, and knowing why is the first step to not letting it run your life.